The chandeliers sparkled like frozen stars above the grand ballroom, their light cascading across crystal glasses, golden cutlery, and the polished marble floors where the city's richest gathered to celebrate another year of luxury and power. Music flowed softly in the background, violins weaving melodies meant to accompany champagne laughter and whispered deals worth millions. To the elite men and women in tuxedos and shimmering gowns, this was just another gala, another evening of indulgence and display. But for one young woman moving quietly between tables in a simple uniform, this was a night that would change her life forever. Her name was Sophia, a 23-year-old waitress whose eyes held dreams far bigger than the world allowed her to claim. She moved gracefully from table to table, balancing trays of sparkling glasses, always smiling politely though her heart carried a weight heavier than the trays she held. She wasn't born into wealth, nor did she have the connections the glittering crowd thrived on. What she had instead was resilience, the kind forged by nights of hunger, days of rejection, and years of watching her mother work herself to exhaustion just to keep a roof over their heads. Tonight, she had come to this gala not only for the paycheck but with a hidden ache inside her. Music was her true love, and dance was the language her soul spoke best. But the world had never given her a stage. Only fleeting moments in the shadows of her small apartment when no one was watching. She had buried her passion beneath aprons and name tags, convincing herself that dreams were luxuries for the privileged. Yet fate had a different plan for her this night. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us of the strength hidden in ordinary souls, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Corner. Your support helps bring stories like this to life and keeps kindness alive in our world. The evening carried on until the moment came when the host introduced the billionaire of the hour, Adrian Steele. A man whose name carried weight in every corner of the city, whose face had graced magazine covers, and whose empire spanned from real estate to technology. Tall, confident, and strikingly handsome, he walked into the spotlight with the arrogance of someone who believed the world itself bowed at his presence. Guests clapped and cheered, but Sophia could only glance at him while placing a tray of champagne on the table nearest to him. Adrian was known not just for his wealth but for his sharp tongue and the way he looked down on those beneath his social circle. And tonight, as fate would have it, his eyes landed on Sophia. Perhaps it was the way she moved, with more grace than any waitress had reason to show. Or perhaps it was the fire in her eyes that he mistook for defiance. Whatever it was, Adrian smirked and raised his voice loud enough for the hall to hear. "Careful there, waitress. With the way you're gliding around, people might think you're trying to dance." Laughter rippled across the room, polite but cruel. Sophia froze for a moment, cheeks burning, her fingers trembling around the tray. She wanted to shrink into the floor, to disappear, but something inside her refused to let shame swallow her whole. She lifted her chin, forcing a small smile, pretending his words didn't sting like daggers. Adrian, sensing her pride, leaned back with a smug grin. "You know what? Prove me right. Why don't you dance? Or is that too much for someone like you?" The crowd chuckled, murmurs filling the air. It was a challenge, a mockery dressed as entertainment. For Sophia, it felt like the cruelest spotlight of all. The billionaire wanted to humiliate her, to remind her of her place, the servant among kings and queens. But the universe had been waiting for this very moment, and deep down, so had she. The music shifted, the orchestra striking a lively tune as though conspiring with destiny. Sophia's heart pounded against her ribs, her body trembling with fear. Every instinct told her to say no, to walk away, to let the laughter win. But then she remembered her mother's voice, always telling her that she was born to shine, that life might push her down but her soul was made to rise. So, with trembling fingers, Sophia placed the tray down on the nearest table. The laughter grew louder, but so did the pounding rhythm of her heart. She stepped forward into the center of the ballroom, the light spilling over her like a blessing. For one fleeting second, silence filled the room, and then she moved. Her body flowed with a grace that silenced laughter instantly. Every step, every twirl, every movement told a story words could never capture. She spun like the chandeliers above her, fierce and elegant, her braids flying as her arms carved beauty into the air. The music seemed to bend itself around her, lifting her higher with each beat. Gasps replaced chuckles. Whispers turned into stunned silence. Even Adrian's smirk faded as his eyes widened, unable to believe what he was seeing. The waitress he had mocked was no longer a servant carrying trays, she was a queen commanding the floor, her spirit unshackled and free. Sophia lost herself in the dance, every suppressed dream flooding out of her like a river breaking its dam. She wasn't dancing for the crowd, nor for the billionaire who tried to shame her. She was dancing for every night she cried herself to sleep, for every no she had been told, for every door slammed in her face. This was her truth, her rebellion, her victory. When the final note struck, Sophia ended with a bow, chest heaving, sweat glistening on her forehead. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. And then, as if the room had awoken from a dream, thunderous applause erupted. People stood to their feet, clapping, cheering, some even with tears in their eyes. The ballroom that had once mocked her now celebrated her. Adrian Steele, the billionaire who had tried to humiliate her, sat frozen in his chair, his jaw tight, his eyes betraying something he had never felt before, humility. He had underestimated her, and now he could do nothing but join the applause. For the first time in his life, wealth and power seemed meaningless in the face of raw, undeniable talent and courage. That night, Sophia walked out of the gala not as a waitress, but as a woman reborn. The guests who once looked down on her now whispered her name with admiration. The orchestra's conductor approached her with awe, promising to connect her with people who could give her the stage she deserved. Adrian himself tried to offer her an apology, but Sophia only gave him a smile that said more than words ever could, "I know my worth now." In the weeks that followed, doors began to open. Sophia was invited to perform at events, to join workshops, and soon, the city began to know her not as a name tag on a waitress's uniform, but as the dancer who had turned a billionaire's mockery into her stage of triumph. Yet even as her life began to change, she never forgot where she came from. She danced not for fame, but for the little girl inside her who once believed dreams were impossible, and for every soul still trapped in the shadows of doubt. And so, her story became more than just one woman's victory. It became a reminder to everyone who heard it, that no amount of money, no measure of power, could ever dim the light of a heart determined to shine. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, share it with others who need hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Every gesture of support helps us spread more stories of courage, kindness, and second chances to the world. Before we end, I have a special request. Drop a comment below telling us, what's one dream you've been holding back, and what's stopping you from chasing it. Your words might inspire someone else who needs that courage today. And as Sophia twirled out of the shadows into the light, her story whispered a truth we should all remember. Sometimes, the greatest stages of our lives are born not from applause, but from the moments when the world tries to silence us, and we choose to dance anyway.